Hey everybody, this is Unit 5, Formative 1, Video 1. We're going to be talking about the greatest common factor today. Alright, so remember that a GCF is just the biggest number that can go into the 2 or 3 or many terms that you're given. So if we look at 12 and 14, your GCF between 12 and 14 is just going to be 2 because it's the biggest number that you could pull out of both of them or divide both of them by. If we look at 36x squared and 48x, the biggest number that can go into the 36 and the 48 would be 12. Or in other words, that's the biggest number that 36 and 48 can both divide by. And then you can also pull an x out of the x squared and the x, so that would leave you with 12x as your greatest common factor. Alright, so basically what we want to do with these problems is take the GCF, or find the GCF, and then factor the polynomial completely. So first we want to look at it and ignore that plus sign, and we want to think of 6x and 12 separately. So the GCF, or the greatest common factor between 6x and 12, would actually be a 6. So we're going to take that 6 and write it down, and then we're going to put some parentheses there, because what we're going to do is we're essentially going to divide everything by 6. Well, 6x divided by 6 gives you 1x, because the x doesn't go away, plus, and then we're going to divide 12 by 6 and we get 2. So the GCF would have been 6 in this case, and then factored completely is this whole thing right here. Alright, so find the GCF and factor completely. Again, same thing. So we're going to look at the numbers out front. We have -5, 25, and -45. Now, whenever this first term is negative, so whenever this guy right here is negative, your GCF will always be negative. So in this case, the biggest number that goes into -5, 25, and -45 is going to be -5 for your GCF. Okay, and then we also look and we see that every single one of them contains at least one x. This one only contains one x, so the biggest number of x's we can pull out of all of them is going to be just -5x. Okay, and then we're going to put a parentheses. So your GCF up here was -5x. And then to factor it completely, we're just going to divide everything by -5x. Okay, well, the -5's cancel out to give you 1, and then x cubed divided by x gives you x squared, because you're just taking away an x. And then we have plus, we're going to divide by -5x again. 25 divided by -5 is -5, and then this x is going to get rid of one of them, so you're left with x to the first, or just x. And then -45 divided by -5 gives you a +9. And then you have to divide by x as well, so those x's just cancel each other out, so you would just be left with +9. And there's your GCF, or your GCF, and it's factored completely. To double check your answer, you can always go back and remultiply it together or distribute it back together. And if you were to distribute it back together, you should end up with this right here, the -5x cubed plus 25x squared minus 45x. Alright, and this last one here, find the GCF and factor completely. So again, look at the numbers out front. So we're going to look at -12, -24, and 36. The biggest number that goes into all three of those is going to be a -12. Again, it's -12 because this first term here is negative. Okay? So if that was a +12, this would be +12. And then we look at the variables, and this one has an x, this one has an x, but this one does not have an x, so therefore an x cannot be a GCF. This one has 3 y's, this one has 1 y, this one has 2 y's, so then we can take at least 1 y out of every single one of them. So your GCF then would be -12y. And then we're going to draw our parentheses and start dividing. So -12x squared y cubed divided by -12y. And the -12's will just make a 1 when you divide them. The x squared stays because you're not dividing it by anything. and then this 1y will cancel out one of them up here, so you're left with y squared. Okay, and then we're going to divide the next term by negative 12y. So negative 24 divided by negative 12 gives you a positive 2. And then the x doesn't go anywhere. And then the y's cancel out, so you're not left with any y's there. And divide the last one by negative 12y. You get 36 divided by negative 12 gives you negative 3. And this 1y will cancel out one of them, so you're left with y to the first, or just y. And then we can double check our answer. So this should be our answer right here. We're going to double check it and multiply everything together. So negative 12 times 1 gives you negative 12. And then we add the exponents. So x squared just stays there, and y to the third. Plus, we're going to multiply negative 12 times 12y times 2x. We get negative 24xy. And then negative 12y times negative 3y gives you positive 36y squared. And if you look, this right here is exactly what we started with before we started factoring. So that means that this right here is in fact your polynomial factored completely. And that is how you factor a polynomial completely using the GCF. We will see you guys later. Make sure you guys took good notes.